After Indiana's dominant win over Illinois, by the way, we have a recap up of that game, a traditional game recap like we did last year up on the channel. So go check that out if you want 45 minutes of Dion and I eating crow. After the game, I was wondering how much Cignetti's personality would come back out, to say the least. We felt like he was under wraps leading up to this game, probably tactically so. And after the game, maybe we would get Cignetti back on his "we're the emerging powerhouse in college football" type press conference. Well, I watched the full Cignetti press conference. Honestly, agreed with pretty much everything he said. Don't have much to even nitpick or emphasize emotionally. I thought it was just pretty dialed in and to the point. He was stealing the show. He did say one thing that at least caught some people's attention, however, and was when he was asked, how did Illinois hold up against Indiana's pressure? They didn't. We knew that, right? But how was it so easy for Indiana to get to the quarterback, to stifle the Illinois run game? This is what Curt Cignetti said, and I tried to find a video clip we could play, but the audio is just too muffled, so I'm just going to read the quote. This is word for word Cignetti, quote, I mean, put the Duke game on. Same thing happened, right? The difference in that game was turnovers, but the same thing happened, end quote. It was clear Curt Cignetti felt from watching the tape that his team could destroy Illinois in the trenches, get to Luke Altmaier at will, and hold the Illinois rushing attack to what they did hold them to, 2 yards of rushing on 20 carries. Now, he used the Duke game as the game to point to, the game that Illinois won 45-19, mind you, but that game did come down to 5 Duke turnovers. So do you think, first off, is this a fair thing for Cignetti to point out? The same thing happened in the Duke game, or is this Curt getting a little, I don't know, creative and embellishing just a little bit, just how bad the Illinois protection is?
Um, I think he's embellishing, but I think he was able to see something in that Duke game that gave him the feeling that like his team could dominate them. I don't think Duke's pass rush is as good as Indiana's. I don't think Duke's trenches are as good as Indiana's, but like I guess if you watch that Illinois Duke game and you're like, well, this Duke team can do that, what can we do? Type of thing. I do believe that. So I think he's embellishing to an extent, but I think he's also telling the truth from the standpoint of like he was able to see something in that Duke game that he felt like he could take advantage of, and boy, did they take advantage of it. So I mean, it's Signetti's world, man. We're just kind of living in it at the moment.
Yeah, I don't think you can knock this quote. Now it's very Cignetti, right? It's the he's speaking Cignettian right now. That's my word for Curt Cignetti's language. Look, Illinois ran for 123 yards against Duke. It wasn't a good performance. It was only 2.9 yards per carry, but they ran for 123 yards against Duke. More importantly, Illinois stood in the pocket against Duke and threw for 296 yards. 22 for 31 was Luke Altmaier. So at minimum, there's no comparison to what Indiana did against Illinois' passing attack. Like Duke did not get to Luke Altmaier in the fashion that Indiana did. Even in a game script where you would think Illinois would need to throw the ball the entire game, Luke Altmaier had no time to breathe. Luke Altmaier had a great game against Duke. So those are two completely different ends of the spectrum. Now, the idea of like, well, they couldn't run on Duke either. That game just came down to turnovers. I think that's probably pretty true. And at minimum, take the element of this being about the pressure or getting to through the trenches, the offensive line. Take that out of it for just a moment. It's very clear that Cignetti took it somewhat personally that people like me were saying these two teams were similar in caliber, right? Because Cignetti wants to make it abundantly clear. Illinois is Duke caliber. They just separated in that game because of turnovers. This is not a college football playoff contender. This is not like he wants to draw the line. We're in with the Oregons, the Dukes, the Oregons, the Penn States, the Ohio States of the world. Illinois, go watch the Duke game. That was an even game outside of turnovers. I think that's his statement, and I think it's hard to disagree with, even if it comes across a little disrespectful right now.
I think that statement is why, as well, like Indiana team did, like you mentioned on Saturday, they did what they did. We're not them. Illinois isn't a college football playoff team. We are. We were last year. We're going to be again this year, and we're going to show you guys exactly what we are because Cignetti isn't crazy either. Well, Cignetti is crazy, but there is a method to his madness. He's not going to beat both Penn State and Oregon on the road. Respectfully, Indiana fans, that's a tall task. If he splits them, a lock to make the playoff. If he loses both, he points back to this game and says, "Remember what we did to them." And they're not a college football playoff team. And then what these two playoff teams did to us is far less than what we did to them. And that's the statement he's making. He is building his college football playoff pitch already because he knows I have a tall task in front of me schedule wise. Nick Saban did the same thing a few years ago when the QB from Florida State went down and said, "Do you want them in the playoff or do you want us with the full team?" And you kind of like you see the best coaches kind of build their college football playoff resume through the statements that they make in their press conference as well. And Cignetti did it perfectly.
Yeah. Also, we talked about this, I think, 2 weeks ago after the Illinois Duke game happened. It was a big narrative of like, was that just turnovers or not? And Duke fans were adamant on Twitter. We just beat ourselves. Illinois didn't beat us. We just beat ourselves. We kind of clowned that at the time. It's pretty clear where Cignetti stands on that. Duke did just beat themselves. And I guess the takeaway for me is this: Curt Cignetti's a genius. He always knows best, and I don't like feeling different than Curt Cignetti. I'd like to start aligning with Cignettian culture.
The smartest people in the world are the biggest lunatics.
Yeah,
Cignetti's both those things.
qualifies for both.